Okay. So I'm keeping the chat box also, since you cannot speak. You will see. Yeah, sure. I'll wait. Please do change your headphones. That will be good. Hello?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes. Okay, so that's good. That's sounds more like a class. So yesterday we finished with the major hormones, right? All the major endocrine glands and the hormones, correct? Okay. So today I'll be talking about, because it's a short class, so I'll be talking about the mechanism first. And whatever I have told you till now, hello Omar, are you speaking something? Good to hear you. Okay, so yesterday we finished with the major glands and their hormones. There are some hormones still left that I'll tell you about in the next class. But in today's class, let's just focus on the mechanism. So basically, when we were studying all these hormones, I was telling you that they need to be secreted without any duct, right? That's why endocrine glands are called ductless glands, right?
Yes, sir.
So the question is, and that is where this mechanism part comes in, that these hormones are secreted right there, wherever they are produced in the tissues, right in the blood, right? And they move through blood. Blood carries them everywhere, right? So how do they actually interact? How do they uh, deliver the message that they have to deliver to the target organ or the target tissue and not other places? So where does this specificity in delivery comes from? What do you think? How do you think the delivery happens? Let's just first discuss about your terms. Riba, what do you think must be
Tells the
happening
brain,
to deliver the message? Yes.
tells the brain that you have to put the
There-
specification where it's specific.
there's a what?
Tells the brain.
Receptor, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So basically what happens is, before I go into the mechanism, let me tell you, I have already told you about different types of hormone on the basis of their chemical nature. Remember peptide hormones, steroid hormones.
Yes, sir.
So let's just write it again so that we can understand better. So write one thing: types of hormones on the basis of their chemical nature. So on the basis of their chemical nature, the first type is peptide hormone, also called protein hormone, right?
Yes.
This is what I told you. Now in peptide hormone, what are the examples? Give me examples, because I was also dictating you which one is peptide and which one is not. All hormones which are peptide hormones. Let's start with the very recent one. Yesterday we studied insulin, right?
Yes, sir.
Insulin is a peptide hormone. Glucagon is also a peptide hormone, its counterpart. And all the pituitary hormones are peptide hormones, remember? From anterior
Yes,
pituitary.
sir.
So you can just go to pituitary and figure out these hormones. They are peptide hormones. Apart from that,
Oxytocin.
yes, so hypothalamic hormone. Hormones from hypothalamus are called hypothalamic hormones. They are also peptide hormones. Okay. The second class of hormones is your steroid hormones. And what did I tell you about steroid hormones? What were the steroid hormones? The gonadotropins, basically your gonadotropins, which includes, sorry, no, the testosterone and progesterone. Testosterone and progesterone. What does progesterone do? Holds the pregnancy, right? Holds the testosterone is the major male gonadotropin. And your cortisols, where does cortisols comes from? We studied it yesterday only. Cortisols comes from adrenal cortex. Remember, there are and progesterone, estrogen. Estrogen is the female hormone, sex hormone. Estrogen is also known as estradiol in some of the books. It's the same. Okay. So these are your steroid hormones. Apart from steroid and protein hormones, what were the other hormones? There is one hormone which is slightly different from the others. Remember the thyroid hormones? Thyroid hormones, I told you that they have iodine, right? They require iodine, iodothyronine and tetraiodothyronine. So they are also categorized differently from these two and are called iodothyronines. Thyronines. So iodothyronines are basically your thyroid hormones, which have iodine. But to which class they belong? Basically, thyroid hormones belong to steroid or protein. Check your notes. I've told you about this. And there is another special, like slightly different hormone, about which we studied yesterday. Remember, I told you about adrenaline. So adrenaline is a amino acid derivative. It's derived from amino acid, which forms protein. So amino acids make proteins, right?
Yes.
And amino acid derivative, that derivative means which is derived from it, but is not exactly it. So it is not exactly amino acid, but it is a derivative of amino acid. If you see the basic structure, and here you have your adrenaline. What is the another name of adrenaline? Epinephrine. Yes. Another name is epinephrine. Okay. So majorly when we talk about, so these are the classes, majorly when we talk about the mechanism. So as you said that for hormones to show their effect, they need a receptor, but not all the time, not always. Okay. So in this case here, the hormones which need a receptor, so there is a plasma membrane, right? This you see. So they have taken an example of FSH. So FSH is secreted from, where does it act on? FSH is secreted from, where is FSH secreted from? No. Pituitary. FSH and LH is secreted from pituitary. Remember, hypothalamus secretes gonadotropin releasing hormone, GnRH. And that GnRH goes and tells the pituitary to secrete FSH and LH. Remember?
Yes.
Yes. So it's secreted from pituitary. You have to remember these things. So keep revising it. And it has to act where? In the ovary. Because FSH goes and tells the ovary to secrete what? Estrogen, progesterone. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So it has to go and act on ovary. So in the blood, it's free. It can go anywhere. But the moment it comes near ovary, there is one problem. Each and every cell of the ovary will have a cell membrane, right? That's called ovarian
Yes,
cell.
sir.
Now, what kind of, so this cell membrane is basically what? What is a cell membrane? A cell membrane is a lipid bilayer. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Any cell membrane is a lipid bilayer in our body. So this cell membrane, which is a lipid bilayer, if the hormone uh, that is coming and trying to make contact with it is not soluble in lipid, then it cannot cross the lipid bilayer, right? To cross something, you have to solubilize in that so that you can just become a part of it and can cross it, right?
Yes, sir.
So these hormones, like FSH also, is a protein hormone. What is it? Protein hormone, because it's coming from pituitary, and all your pituitary hormones are protein hormone. So this example is for protein or peptide hormone. Okay. Now I think others have joined. Hello, Mariam and Aisha.
Good
Am I
evening, sir.
Bye. Both of you.
Sir, I just reached home.
Okay. Okay. So today I'm starting with mechanism of hormone action. Okay. And I have just discussed the basic that I have already told you, the classes of hormones on the basis of the chemical nature, peptide, steroid, and then two specials, iodothyronine, which is thyroid hormones because they have iodine, and one amino acid derivative, not exactly amino acid, but derived from it, which is adrenaline that we studied yesterday, right? But mostly, majorly, they are of two types, peptide and steroid. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And we first started with, and I was just asking Reba, and me and Reba were discussing that a hormone, so Reba said a hormone need a receptor, right? She's right. So a hormone is like a chemical messenger that needs to interact with the receptor so that it can interact with that target tissue or target cell. But we were discussing that every cell in our body, here there's an example taken of FSH, and FSH is a pituitary hormone. That's why it's a protein or peptide hormone, right? And it has to go and act on the ovary. Now there'll be one problem reaching the ovarian cell, that there'll be cell membrane in between, right? And the cell membrane is made up of lipid. So I was just asking Reba that what kind of molecules can easily cross a lipid bilayer and what kind of molecules cannot cross a lipid bilayer. So the point is, if something is not lipid soluble or fat soluble, then it cannot easily go through the lipid bilayer, right?
Yes, sir.
So protein hormones, because they are not soluble in lipid, they need to interact through a receptor. They cannot directly go into the cell. Is it clear? So all your protein hormones, the major class, have to interact through receptors. Clear, everyone? Now, this hormone and receptor interaction, or ligand, or we call it ligand receptor interaction. Ligand is something which comes and bind to a receptor. It's like a lock and key mechanism. That's why it's very specific. So all the locks, like from outside, they look the same, but all the locks have a unique, uh, what do we call it? Structure inside, right? And every key is unique, right?
Yes, sir.
That's how only the key which is made for that lock will be able to fit properly in order to unlock it. Similarly, these receptors comes in various shapes and sizes. For the sake of simplicity, they have just shown it to be a rectangular shape where a rectangular molecule is coming and sitting, but it is very much specific. So you can just write down that the hormone receptor interaction or ligand receptor interaction, also we call it. Ligand in this case is a hormone. Ligand and receptor interaction. And this is where the specificity lies. Okay, so there will be receptors on every cell of every organ, but only the receptor which is present on the cell of ovary will recognize FSH coming from the pituitary, because it will bind to it, the receptor, perfectly and mediate the signaling downstream. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So now the question is, hormones, if they just bind to receptors and then they never enter inside the cell themselves, right? So what do they do then? How is the response generated? So when hormones bind to receptors, so in the first level of response is, so this first response is basically called, these are basically changes in the structure of downstream molecules, which leads to generation of a second messenger. So hormone was the first messenger, right? Which came from brain, right? So what, it's simple. See, if you have to deliver a message to me and you came to my house, and then there's a gatekeeper and a gate, and you do not have a valid identity to meet me, so the gatekeeper is not allowing you to go. So how will you like make the message reach me? What is the other way?
Call you.
But hormone cannot call directly the nucleus of the cell, right? It has to be physically there. Imagine earlier times, technology was not a boon then. How do people, suppose someone went to visit the king, now everyone cannot visit the king, right, in person, but you have some important message for the king. So how will you send those message?
Send the message through the gatekeeper.
Exactly, you have to relay those message, right? You have to pass on the message to someone else who can take it to someone of higher authority, and who can take it to the king. Do you understand, right? It's simple.
Yes, sir.
So if you are not allowed to enter, then you have to find other ways for the message to reach the target. It's not important whether the hormone reaches the target or not, mostly. And especially in case of peptide hormones, where it cannot cross the lipid bilayer, it has to make another response where you have to generate a second messenger. And the second messenger is already inside the cell. So no problem. So you just have to convey through any ways, like it could be written message, it could be vocal message, it could be sign language, it could be anything, it could be just a thing, like it could be, let's say, a piece of metal, and the person who is receiving it, if he understands what it means, he or she will be able to decode the message, right? Or a piece of a origami. Do you understand? So any way your signal has to reach. So these second messengers or secondary messengers are basically calcium ions, Ca2 plus, or cyclic AMP. Okay. So inside the cell, these two are examples of secondary messengers, and they then start a series of biochemical responses inside the cell, which goes to finally show the physiological responses. Now, to show physiological responses, for example, change in the ovaries size or growth of the ovary or secretion of hormones, you have to go and tell this thing to the nucleus, right? So this final thing is happening in the nucleus, right?
Yes, sir.
Because the master, the DNA, the genome is sitting inside the nucleus of every cell. So to make any kind of change in that cell, or to make it grow, or to make it secrete new proteins. So whenever you want a cell to secrete more proteins, we have to go and tell the DNA to make RNA so that that RNA could come out in the cytoplasm, and then ribosomes can come and bind to that RNA and translate a amino acid chain. Remember the biology? Central dogma. I taught you very early. Do you
Yes,
remember?
sir.
Yeah. So to make any kind of change, you have to make that message reach there. So this is where peptide hormones are different from lipid soluble hormones. They themselves cannot go inside, but they activate responses that generate a secondary messenger, very important. And this secondary messenger generates biochemical responses, which ultimately leads to physiological responses. Physiological means the changes in that organ itself, like growth. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And to make an organ grow, of course, you have to synthesize more things, right? More proteins and other substances. And for that synthesis, the signal has to come from where? Inside the cell, from where the signal will come? DNA, the nucleus, right? Any confusion in this? The first mechanism? Should I move forward? So just write few things about this. Everyone understood the mechanism? Just tell me this.
Sir, could you explain once again?
The whole thing?
Yes, sir, just a quick summary.
Okay. So I was saying that a protein hormone or a peptide hormone, since it is made up of amino acids and it's not soluble in lipid, it cannot cross the lipid bilayer. Okay. And because it cannot cross the lipid bilayer itself, the only way for it to interact with that cell and send the message is through a receptor. So there are multiple receptors on the surface of every cell in our body. Remember, there is a receptor on the surface of our respiratory cells to which COVID can bind. The
Yes,
whole
sir.
problem with corona is that it has recognized a human receptor, very important receptor, which we cannot just get rid of. So we cannot remove that receptor. If we could have removed that receptor, COVID would have never infected us, because it can recognize a receptor, and because of it can cause signaling, but we cannot get rid of it. So all the cells in our body have different receptors on it, like hundreds, thousands of receptors are there, and all these receptors interact in a very specific manner with a hormone or a ligand. Ligand is anything that binds to a receptor, a chemical entity that binds to a receptor. In this case, that ligand is hormone. So ligand receptor binding is called ligand receptor interaction, and that is very specific. That's how FSH can only affect ovary and not liver or not muscles or other things. Okay. So hormone comes and binds to the receptor, because of which there is another response generated inside the cell. Now this response one could be conformational changes in the downstream protein. So there is a lot of proteins downstream. So binding here causes some conformational changes. Conformational means change in the shape, size, conformational changes, because of which, or it could be like some ion channels open, because of which calcium comes in. It could be anything that generates a second messenger. So your message, which was with hormone, got translated into a secondary messenger message, which is not the hormone, but it's something which is already inside the cell, like calcium ions, calcium 2+ or cyclic AMP. These two are examples of secondary messengers inside the cell, which help a protein hormone. Now, these secondary messengers starts a biochemical response, okay, which leads to physiological response. And this was the message. The message that FSH brought was to make the ovary grow and release ovarian hormones, right? Under the effect of FSH, ovary starts secreting estrogen, progesterone. Remember?
Yes, sir.
So FSH came and told the ovary, the FSH came to say actually that, see, I am here, pituitary has sent me, and pituitary wants you to grow and develop, because the body you are in has reached that stage where you need to ovulate. it has reached puberty, so you need to ovulate and things has to go. But ovary is not aware of that message yet. Ovary is just waiting for years and years, but hormone cannot enter. So it starts a secondary messenger pathway through which the message finally reaches the ovary and then changes happen. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so write down few things. Hormones show their effect. Hormones show their effect on target tissues. Peptide hormones. Peptide hormones show their effect on target tissues by binding to specific proteins. Now, again, if it is a protein, the receptor also has to be a protein, right? Binding to a protein called a receptor or a hormone receptor, to be specific, which is located in the target tissue only, which is located in the target tissue only. The receptor which can bind FSH will only be present in ovarian cell membrane and not anywhere else. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. This leads to second point. This leads to formation of hormone receptor complex. Hormone receptor complex. Hormone receptor complex. Third point, this complex regulates certain biochemical changes through generation of secondary messengers inside the cell. Through generation of secondary messengers inside the cell. Through generation of secondary messengers inside the cell. And the last point, which finally leads to the physiological response or effect of hormone, which finally leads to the physiological response or effect of hormone. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so have all of you drawn this? You need to draw this. It's not very difficult, but just make a drawing in your own handwriting. Have you done it, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm giving 2 minutes because you were listening and I was dictating, you were understanding. I give you 2 minutes to draw and note whatever you want before I go to the next one. Please let me know when you're done. Just say done. Omar, you have any idea why Abhinav is not joining these days? Do you have exams or is he traveling? Is he fine? You and Abhinav are classmates, right, Omar? Omar, are you there?
Done, sir.
Okay. Omar, are you able to hear me or not? Okay, he is. Okay, fine. But he's fine, right? Like health-wise. Okay. Ask him to join. These are some complex things. Okay, cool. So this was where the hormone was proteinaceous in nature and could not cross the lipid bilayer, right? The other case is, and it's quite simple, where the hormone is actually itself soluble in lipids. So remember, I just told you here, steroidal hormones are lipid soluble, right? Testosterone, progesterone, cortisols, and estrogen. So taking an example of estrogen, let's come down. Yep. So what's happening here is, yes. So again, same thing. There is a hormone. Let's take an example of estrogen. Now, where is estrogen secreted from? Who will tell me? Estrogen is secreted from which organ? Estrogen. It's a major female sex hormone secreted from?
Ovaries.
Exactly, ovaries, testosterone and estrogen. So estrogen is secreted from ovaries, and where does it needs to go and send the signal to the uterus? So now uterus also has cell membrane, like the cells of uterus have uterine cell membrane, right? And again, the cell membrane is lipid bilayer. But since estrogen is a steroidal hormone and is soluble in lipid, so what will happen? If something is soluble in lipid, it can just cross, right? Simply through. Because it's the same thing. Oil can cross between oil, right? Lipid can cross between lipids, but a non-soluble substance cannot cross across it, right? So it directly crosses, and since in the cytoplasmic region, there is no need for a secondary messenger, right? You understand?
Yes, sir.
It can directly go right into the nucleus. So this is the nuclear membrane. Okay, nuclear membrane. And it can form a complex which is called receptor hormone complex inside, right? Is it clear? So this complex is already inside. And when this is made, the this complex where hormone is present with some proteins, and this complex, it's also receptor hormone complex is not the right word for it, but I think you can say it a protein hormone complex. Receptors are basically protein. Okay. But what these proteins help is it can give direct access to the genome. Now, this is DNA, right? They have just not made the in between nitrogenous bases. So I'm just completing it. Is it clear? Can you recognize it now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. This is our beloved DNA. And on DNA, which is our genome, a lot of proteins are already present. So these are called DNA binding proteins. What are they called?
DNA binding proteins.
DNA binding proteins. Now, because they can bind DNA. Now, with the help of DNA binding proteins, and this protein hormone complex can go and directly affect the DNA. It can go and directly whisper into the ears of the DNA that, see, you need to show some physiological responses, which is like tissue growth and differentiation. Now, if you have to make a tissue grow, or same like above, you have to do anything in the cell, DNA needs to make, any gene has to be activated or repressed. To do anything in the cell, you basically, what you do is either you activate a gene that was causing some growth factors to be formed or anything to be formed, or you repress that gene to not allow the production of proteins. Is it clear? Right? We can
Yes,
do
sir.
two things. The DNA can do two things: upregulate or downregulate genes, right? And through upregulation or downregulation of genes, upregulation or downregulation of genes, all the changes are mediated in the cell, right? All physiological responses are mediated. So it can directly affect the DNA and ask the cell to show tissue growth or differentiation and whatever its message was. Is it clear? So it's quite simple, right? So with steroid hormones, there is no need for secondary messengers, and they are also referred to as hormones that can reach the target themselves. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any confusion in this?
No, sir.
Just write down. So here, this receptor which is already inside the cell, can we also name it as intracellular? Inter and intra, remember?
Yes, sir.
What does intracellular receptor means?
Inside the cell.
They are already inside. And in the above case, what we will call these receptors as?
Inter.
They are not inter, they are not between two cells. Think again.
Periphery.
Membrane bound. They are bound to membrane, right?
Yes, sir.
Simple. So they are membrane bound receptors, and the other one are intracellular receptors. Now you can write down here what all kind of, so I told you 4 kinds here: peptide, steroid, iodothyronine, and amino acid derivatives. So above, and like few classes back, I told you that thyroid hormones is a part of steroid hormones or peptide hormones. Broadly, it comes under which category? It is itself a distinct category because it has iodine, which other hormones do not have. So it's some slightly different. So hence I have mentioned it separately here. But when I was teaching you thyroid hormones, go to that subsection in your notes and say whether it was steroidal or peptide based. It was a steroidal. It comes under steroidal category. Okay. If you don't remember, please write it down again. Is it clear, everyone? Just say yes or no.
Yes, sir.
So both your steroid hormone and your thyroids, like or your thyroid hormones, or which are called iodothyronines because they have iodine. They both act through this mechanism. Okay. So you can understand the examples. For the second one, these are all the examples: testosterone, progesterone, cortisol, estrogen, T3 and T4. All of them act through the second way. This. Correct? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So that's understood. Any doubts in any of
No,
the?
sir.
No. Now, for the last part of this chapter, I think I had to tell you some. Write down hormones secreted by. Now they are not specifically called as endocrine glands, but yes, they also, these organs also have some secretions and they act as a gland. So hormones secreted by heart, we'll study it separately. Hormones of heart. Heart is a part of cardiovascular system, right?
Yes, sir.
Kidneys, and GIT. You know what is GIT? GIT is gastrointestinal tract, part of digestive system. Gastrointestinal tract. The whole tract, like your stomach, small intestine, large intestine. Do you understand? That all comes under GIT. Now, for the heart, am I audible, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Am I clearly audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, write down for the heart. So heart secretes a very important hormone. It's a peptide hormone called ANF. Now, because it secretes ANF, it's not like the whole heart is an endocrine gland, but it acts as an endocrine gland when it secretes ANF. ANF is, write down, its full form is atrial natriuretic factor. Atrial natriuretic factor. It is a peptide hormone. So just the what it does. So write down the major function. ANF helps in. Achha, it's atrial natriuretic. So you can just understand where it is coming from. It's being secreted from the walls of atria. Okay. Walls of atria secreted, not ventricles. That's why it's called atrial natriuretic factor. It's a factor which is being secreted from the atria. And what does it do? Write down. It decreases the blood pressure. So its major role is to decrease the blood pressure. Now, do you remember I told you there is another way to decrease or increase blood pressure? ADH, antidiuretic factor, increases the blood pressure, right? Remember?
Yes, sir.
By putting more water into the blood, back into the blood. This acts at the level of heart. So what happens? Write down, when the blood pressure increases, ANF is secreted by, ANF is secreted, you already know by, ANF is secreted. And to decrease blood pressure, what do we need to do? There is just one thing. I told you about increasing and decreasing blood pressure. In our body, blood is moving in tubes. So what do we do to the tube to increase or decrease the pressure? To increase the pressure, we constrict the tube. Watering the
Yes,
plant.
sir.
Do you forget all of this? It's just simple logic. It's nothing. It's not like rocket science. You just need to understand if anything is flowing through a tube, to increase the pressure, you need to constrict it. And to decrease the pressure, you need to dilate it. The same mechanism works for bronchodilators in asthmatic patients, right?
Yes.
It dilates the bronchus so that you do not feel choking on it. So this ANF dilates the blood vessel. It dilates the blood vessel simply. So this is the one and only hormone secreted by heart itself. Local function. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And since it is working, what is the target of ANF? Blood vessels itself. So heart is the best place to make this hormone because heart is pumping in each and every blood vessel. So automatically things will reach there, right? Cool. Now write down kidneys. Kidneys produce a peptide hormone called erythropoietin. I think we have discussed this. Remember? Erythropoietin. Yes. Remember, I have discussed erythropoietin with you.
Yes,
People-
sir.
What does Yes. What does erythropoietin do? Mariam?
Hormone to produce the RBC.
Perfect. So erythropoietin, write down it. And oh, sorry, where it is secreted from. So again, it's a peptide hormone. So this you have to know about each and every hormone. So go back to your notes when you are revising. See if you have written the name of the hormone, the nature, chemical nature of it, and where it is secreted from, and where it acts, the target. Is it clear? These 4 things you have to know about every hormone. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Erythropoietin is a peptide hormone, and where it is secreted. Remember, I told you about cortical nephrons and juxtamedullary nephrons,
Yes, sir.
right? So this is secreted from the juxtaglomerular cells. There is cells which are present juxtaglomerular cells secrete this. And what does it do? As Mariam said, it increases RBC production. Okay. And where is RBC synthesized from? Where it has to work? If it has to increase RBC production, where should it go and act? Where do we make our blood? People, doctors of the future, please answer. Where we make our blood? By blood, I mean our RBCs. So our WBCs, we make B cells in the bone marrow, T cells in the thymus. Where is RBC produced?
Bone marrow only.
Yes, so you can at least make a guess if you don't know. Yes, the red part of the bone marrow. Those who are non-vegetarians must be knowing that inside the bone, there is a mesh-like structure. Bone is not completely solid inside and not completely hollow also. It has a network-like structure, remember? And in between that structure, there is a red bone marrow. So write down, RBCs are formed from red bone marrow. So this factor has to go and work there. Okay, erythropoietin. And so kidneys have some special juxtaglomerular cells which act as a endocrine cells. Similarly, in heart, in the atria, wall of atria, there are some cells that act as an endocrine cell. So this whole organ is not called an endocrine organ, but still some cells, some subsets of the cells are able to synthesize hormones. Now about the GIT, we go back. Write down, secreted from GIT, gastrointestinal tract. So GIT actually has a lot of endocrinal activity. It has a lot of cells present in different part of the tract that produce hormones. So write down, GIT produces four different endocrine hormones. All the 4 are peptide hormones. First hormone is called gastrin. First is called gastrin. Then there is one called secretin. The third one is called CCK. CCK stands for, what does it stand for? Cholecytokinin. Cholecytokinin. And the fourth one is your GIP. GIP is gastro inhibitory peptide. Peptide. Is it clear, everyone? Now, all the four are peptide hormones, right? So I'm just writing here. All are peptide hormones. This was also peptide. Erythropoietin is also peptide, and GIT. All the hormones from gut are also peptide. So which means clearly they are going to follow this route, right? They have to make secondary messengers whenever they are going to act. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now write about gastrin. Write about gastrin. Gastrin stimulates or increases the secretion of HCl. HCl is
Hydrochloric acid.
hydrochloric acid, yes. Increases or stimulates the secretion of HCl and the inactive form of pepsin. What is it called?
Pepsinogen.
Yes. So whenever there is gen in front of any enzyme, that is inactive, right? I told you this or not?
Yes, sir, you did.
Yeah. Okay. So pepsinogen. And then write about secretin first. Secretin acts on the exocrine part of pancreas. Remember, pancreas is a dual gland. It has an endocrine part and an exocrine. The exocrine part secretes the gastric enzymes. Remember, the digestive enzymes from the pancreas.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this secretin goes and act at the exocrine part of pancreas and stimulates secretion of water to dilute the enzymes, water and bicarbonate ion, HCO3 negative, water and bicarbonate ions. Okay. Water dilutes and bicarbonate ion takes away the acidity. Remember, the food is coming from stomach and entering into the intestine. There, this pancreatic juice makes it alkaline. Secretin plays a major role in that. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And write about CCK. CCK acts cholecytokinin. It acts both on pancreas and gallbladder. Pancreas and gallbladder. And very obviously, what does gallbladder secretes?
Bile juice.
Yes, so it will stimulate the secretion of bile juice. And what does pancreas secretes?
Pancreatic juices.
Yes, pancreatic enzyme. So it just stimulates the secretion of both. And finally, about the GIP, write down. GIP is the controller of the stimulating activity. So GIP, as the name suggests, gastro-inhibitory peptide, it basically inhibits gastric secretions. What does it do? Everything was stimulatory, so something has to be inhibitory also. Inhibits gastric secretions. Cool, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think that's all. Yes, that's all. So I hope you have to, I think you have to join other class, right? After this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so any doubts or should I conclude? No doubts? Okay,
Yes,
then
sir.
please revise this. And the chemical coordination is complete, so please revise the whole chapter. I'll be giving you some additional notes and assignments for this chapter because lots of facts are there. Okay. and there'll be a test on this. Okay, bye everyone.